Erik Engellau-Nilsson. Please welcome up on stage.
Thank you. And you shouldn't, I mean, we should celebrate Ola a little bit more, because being this good of a moderator for 4 hours, it's pretty impressive.
Oh, thank you very much.
Job.
Thank you very much. It's very easy.
Yeah, I think he really deserves a big round.
Thank you. No, it's really interesting. I really am interested in every question I ask, and I get to pick the people on stage. So it's like it's being Oprah Winfrey without having a producer. So, Klarna, unicorn, grew through the roof. I don't know if you know the story. It was called Folkia before, of course. Where was it?
Kreditor.
Sorry, Kreditor. And I got a call when I was at Stockholm, when I was having my office next to Stockholm University. And they said, we have this great team that just started an idea. Would you come and talk to them? I said, I really don't have time. And then they called you in Valerud, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, but amazing story. Some guys out of Stockholm School of Economics created a company that became a unicorn in a very competitive field.
And their experience before was flipping burgers at Burger King, and they were approaching or attacking the most regulated market there is, which is payments, and they had absolutely no experience.
And they also got to pitch ideas to heads of the large banks that said, kids, this is not how it works.
Never going to work. The banks are going to destroy you. Yeah. It was the CEO of McKinsey, H&M, and so on. So they really knew what they were talking about, but they disregarded that and just went for it.
And what were the key success factors there then? What was the success of Klarna, and how could you pull this amazing story off?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the tenacity and grit of the founders were crucial. They had a lot of luck approaching a market that was just exploding, e-commerce as well. But doing and approaching a very regulated market with big incumbents that weren't thinking in a new way was definitely a key success factor. Yeah.
And you were brought in, and you've been CEO, you've been head of the US, you've been a bunch of different things.
Not CEO, CMO.
CMO, I mean, yeah, CMO. Yeah, and your first job, what was the title? It was almost like James Bond.
Yeah, Project of Special Operations, Manager of Special Operations. Yeah. So yeah, pretty much walking around like James Bond and just putting out fires.
Putting out fires and inventing new ones.
Yeah.
And going to new markets, how did you think around that?
So Klarna is now in 18 markets, and every new market we went to, we nearly bankrupted the company, because we were just thinking that we have this little cute product from Sweden, we can approach it or apply it in a new market. We don't have to tailor make it at all, because the consumers in Sweden really like it. But the credit models were completely different in, let's say, Germany compared to Sweden. So pretty much the entire company went bankrupt when we went to Germany. We had to switch the product around so many times. The same thing in Norway, the same thing in Finland. And we were just trying to build a company that was just modeled on everything we'd done in Sweden and applied in new markets. And it failed every time, pretty much. So we had to quite quickly think about what's the new way to approach this? How can we succeed? What are the people that we need to bring on board? And we learned from the best from Sweden, which is IKEA, and realized that the thing that really matters is culture and getting the right people on board who've been in the culture a long time, and then send them to new markets, rather than thinking that you can just hire a great person with no brand in a new market.
They sent you to the US. How is it set up in New York?
Yeah, the US is so different from Sweden.
Yeah.
Culturally, how you make business, the way that payments work is completely different. But we approached it in the way that we recruited one guy who set up the office in Ohio, who was in Sweden for almost 6 months, just trying to learn the culture. But since we'd failed so many times in other markets, we thought, we'll send some Swedes as well, who've been in the company for several years, to New York. And so, yeah, we started out by just, as you said, with a credit card, finding an office, starting to bring on board the first merchants and so on. And we were super lucky at first to get this super big merchant called Overstock. And because of that, we thought that we'd made it. We have a product that really works in the US, but it didn't. It just worked for Overstock, and no other merchants at all wanted to work with us. So it was like super successful the first couple of days, and then miserable for a couple of years, and now it's really taking off again.
But you also took on Snoop Dogg. I don't know if you haven't seen that. Google Klarna and Snoop Dogg, or Smooth Dog that he now is called, because he champions smooth payments. So he is the spokesperson for the bank, and the site doesn't look like any other bank, and the marketing doesn't look like any other bank. It's smooth, it's Klarna, it's beautiful artwork.
I mean, and on that topic, when we started out, when they started out, we had no trust in the market, no credibility whatsoever. So it was a bunch of 23-year-old guys who founded the company. So they always put on like suits. They made sure that every phone number ended with a lot of zeros, everything to build credibility. But what we realized over time was that we actually have credibility in the product itself. And now we can think about more from a consumer perspective. And most banks look exactly the same. It's the same blue colors, the same logo types, everything is the same. So we just wanted to completely challenge that. And so, yeah, we use pink now, or they use pink, have spokespersons like Snoop Dogg. So as little as a normal bank as you can get, pretty much.
And it's, once again, if you don't have anything to do, watch it again. It's a brilliant piece of commercial. It'll go to history. But I'm going to speak about something more interesting. Norrsken, the Nordic light. What is that, and where do you roll it out, and why is it created?
When we were at Klarna, we realized that selling payments is fantastic and meaningful to us. But what would happen if we would actually apply our experience of building companies and using technology to solve societal problems and not just build more smooth online transactions? So Niklas, who founded Klarna, then set up Norrsken with this idea that maybe we can help entrepreneurs who are solving societal problems with technology, with entrepreneurship.
And you call them impact entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
So people that do good for society, if they can make shitloads of money, that's fine, but they should do good
in
for
fact,
society.
it's not just fine, it's really great. Like, we want that, because then you have two things. You have cultures of making things happen, and you get resources to scale the solution if you're successful in a local market.
But between the two of you, and mainly Niklas, as I understand, you put in, what, 80 million euros in personal capital to support these companies?
Yeah,
and
we're doing two things. One is we've created this ecosystem in Stockholm, a co-working space for impact entrepreneurs. So it's 120 companies that sit under one roof and work for solving global goals. And the other part is that we have a VC fund as well. And in the VC fund, we've taken in external capital. So other unicorn founders have invested in that fund as well. So it's more than 80 million euros now. It's 150.
Wow. But for you, it was also a personal choice.
Yeah.
Did something happened in your life that made you think, am I going to make smooth payments?
Yeah, exactly. My way of getting self-esteem was always by being successful at work or making as much money as possible. And one day when I was in New York, found out that I had cancer in my colon. And when you do that, you don't know if you're going to live for 3 more months or 3 more years. And I just decided then that however much time I have left, I have to do something that's more meaningful than just building payment solutions. So for me, it's deeply meaningful to work with actually using my experience of building and scaling companies to solve societal problems.
And luckily, the cancer is not with you anymore.
Yeah, I was super lucky. Great medical service in Sweden that removed the colon, and then the cancer is gone, pretty much. Yeah.
But why is that needed, you think, to trigger?
I wish
because
I
Niklas
wish I
from
could
Klarna, Niklas, one of the founders of Klarna, he went to Las Vegas and bought every expensive thing he could buy, and they had the biggest suite. And then he came up there and thought he would feel good, and he started crying instead and said, "Why am I doing this?" And then he started Norrsken.
Exactly. His view was always that there's a clear correlation between happiness and wealth. So if I just get super rich, I'll get super happy. And then, as you said, he got super rich and went to Las Vegas, bought everything he could, was standing in the biggest suite on top of the skyscraper looking out at the city, and felt nothing. So he realized that you have to do something different to feel meaning, at least for him. And I wish I could have come to the same conclusion reading a Paulo Coelho book, but I wasn't that smart. I had to go through this kind of shock to realize that. And I think that's common for a lot of people.
But now you're rolling into new countries, and you just came back from an exciting opening, or you're going to open rather.
Yeah, so if you keep this between us, like next week we're going to announce that we're opening in Kigali in Rwanda. So it will be the biggest hub for entrepreneurship in Eastern Africa. That's the first country, and then we're also in parallel looking at London. So the ambition is to open up 25 of these ecosystems across the world and make
over which time frame?
It depends on what mood I'm in, but around 10 years.
Yeah.
And we'll see. We'll learn a lot from these 2 houses in Rwanda and London. So maybe that's just where it will be, or it will be 25. We'll see.
And what is some advice you would want to give entrepreneurs here in the audience if they want to scale, and if they also want to build good companies?
The main lesson from Klarna for me is that when I came in, it was just fires everywhere. Nothing was working. And it's so easy to get paralyzed by that. You're like, wow, this thing for one customer isn't working, and the whole company is focusing on that, or, this isn't working. But what was really impressive with Sebastian was that even though things were always burning in different places, he kept the momentum going in the company. So it was either like bringing on board one new merchant, or raising new money, or getting some PR. So there's always this vibe in the company that things were growing. And as long as you have that mentality and that feeling in a company, it's okay if things are burning, because people want to stay in a company that's growing. But as soon as the company isn't growing, as soon as you feel that now we're stagnating, then you really need to think about fixing all that operational shit. But we never really had to, because things were just progressing so quickly. So I think that's what I learned from Sebastian the most, is that he just kept the momentum going. And obviously everyone else was trying to catch up, but he was that leading force that kept up the speed.
Yeah, that happened also in Tetra Pak. Tetra Pak was highly unprofitable for 14 years, and then the founders become some of the richest industrialists in Europe. And could you imagine you're telling your board or investors, another 13 and a half and it's going to be phenomenal, right?
Exactly.
And
but
every time he was going bankrupt, he came up with a new shiny idea that everybody got excited by.
Exactly.
So when they were going bankrupt because their only customer in Blekinge Mejerier said, I don't want this anymore because all the things leak, he said, let's go to India. And then they went to India.
Exactly.
And that sort of made them survive.
And the same thing is true for Steve Jobs. Like, when he came back to Apple, it took 7 years before that you could really see the revenue take off. So in hindsight, you think of Apple as the most successful case in history, but it was actually a lot of people really believing in that and believing in him through those 7 years of virtually no revenue growth. Yeah.
But somebody also said that this innovation strategy behind Apple, it was Steve says.
Which is partly true of Klarna as well. Like, Sebastian has a very strong opinion on the product and on the future of the company, so it's very similar in that sense.
And personally, what's most exciting for you now with Norssken?
The most exciting thing is nothing that we're doing. The most exciting thing is the stuff that all the entrepreneurs are doing. It's just, you go into the space and you're blown away by the enthusiasm, the inspiration, the products that they're developing. It's really amazing.
And if I'm the devil's advocate then a little bit, if you look at social entrepreneurship, which was the old term before impact entrepreneurship, and I'm now just taking a contrary position.
Good.
You have to find really lovely people that do things for the right things really badly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. And then on the other spectrum, you have people that do things for the wrong reasons. They exploit the planet and people because they want to buy a really big boat.
Exactly. So if you can combine the best of those two worlds, I think that's when really cool things will start to happen. And the exciting thing is that you're already seeing this shift in society. Like, people are expecting companies now to actually be a positive contributor to either global problems or the environment or whatever.
And what are some of the problems that you think that the companies sitting in Norrsken are addressing successfully?
So we are completely agnostic to which problem. So it could be any of the global problems. But I think some of the most exciting things is just bringing new AI to healthcare, for example, to improve the efficiency of doctors, making sure that farmers, small-scale farmers in Eastern Africa can grow more efficiently by sharing knowledge, digitalizing education, so making it more efficient to just learn in school. Things like that are super exciting, I think, and are solving fundamental problems that are going to be necessary for us to transition as a planet and a people.
Cool. So, will there be another company after Norrsken, you think?
Absolutely.
Are you a serial entrepreneur?
So right now, I can't imagine a more fun place to be at, because the team is just mind-blowingly amazing, and we're solving fun problems. But at the same time, there's so many cool entrepreneurs that come in that I just feel like, this problem I really want to tackle, and this problem I really want to tackle. So I don't have an end date in mind with Norrsken. I feel that I could be here for 40 more years. But at the same time, there's so many exciting things happening that definitely, we only plan in 6 months and 40 years, and nothing in between.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see my
6 months and 40 years.
40 years. So really long term.
Yeah, 40, yeah.
Yeah, 40, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I'm definitely going to be there for 6 months, but 40, I don't know.
That's funny. That's why actually we started Result and started Epicenter, because I promised my wife and parents and everybody else around me not to start more companies. But hey, I'm sitting in the middle of something, and then by chance we just started another company a month ago.
And I think the big hurdle in society is when you realize that you can actually start a company. It's not like it's just normal people who start and build companies. It's not superheroes, and we tend to put like Steve Jobs and the likes on pedestals, and I can never be as good as that person. But it's just normal people who start companies and normal people who build the frameworks of society that we're part of, and anyone can do it. And now the threshold is going down even more, so that's a really exciting part.
But I think also an exciting part of being a social entrepreneur, an impact entrepreneur, is a lot of companies become slaves of their own company. And for me, when I was very young, I was invited to Davos, to World Economic Forum, and I met my heroes. I met the Bill Gates, and I met the sort of all these guys, and I realized, and this is Richard Branson's, wow, good for them, but I don't want to live this life. I don't want to have 10 bodyguards all the time. I don't want to I want to be me, but how can I, then I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to be slave under somebody else's vision, but for me, I want to have a balanced life. I've always said when I get a child, I want to be with them at least 6 months per year, not at doggies or school. So when she was born, that's my decision. I want to be in the places where I want to live. So business needs to wrap itself around that. And maybe I could have been more successful, but I live the life I want to live. But I see a lot of people are living lives they don't want to live.
But it's funny that you say I could have been more successful, because that's just a way of defining success.
Defining success,
exactly. I mean, to me, I don't have any life balance at all. I just work all the time because I know I have very limited time left, and I need to make sure I make the most out of it. But for someone who's healthy and who is doing what you're doing, I think that's exactly what we should strive for.
But thank you very much for sharing and for doing what you're doing. It's a very, very cool project. And as I've said before, if we can help you in any way, we'll be very happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that everyone can do here is come to Kigali. If you haven't been to Rwanda, it's the most amazing country in the world. So many things are happening now, and I think my perception half a year ago was so much based on the genocide 25 years ago. But things have changed so much, and what they need now is just inspiration, knowledge of how to build companies, and this infrastructure around entrepreneurship. So I'm gonna pull you in there.
No.
For sure.
Let's tell me when we're going, and I'll go for sure.
Cool.
Happy to contribute.
That would be invaluable. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing.
And thank you for listening, everyone.